So welcome everyone to Arizona State University's More to Explore event. This is our session that's going to be focusing on some amazing films. I'm Bridget with the School of Sustainability. We're located on the Tempe campus as well as downtown at the Polytech campus and online. I graduated from the school in 2008 and now teach some of the study abroad courses and work with students as often as I can. We're going to be looking at some sustainability storytelling. So these are student-produced short documentaries. As we go through these, I'm excited to introduce you to Peter Byck. He's a professor of practice at the School of Sustainability and the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. He actually came out to our campus several years ago, and our students fell in love with him and said, hire this guy. So we were able to bring him out from Kentucky to Arizona to teach a lot of courses. Those of you that are Lord of the Rings fans, he was in New Zealand filming the documentary for that. He's also the writer and producer and director of Carbon Nation, which has been an award-winning film series. He's working with scientists and ranchers on soil health and soil carbon storage. Recently, he released Soil Carbon Cowboys and some other amazing films. So at this point, I'd like to turn this over to Professor Peter Byck.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad you all are here, and I'm really glad to see a couple of my students from the very last semester we were working, Franco and Luke. It's good to see you both. I feel like we're in class because we had to do remote class the last half of the semester anyway. Quick overview of the class. What we do is we teach students from the Schools of Sustainability and Journalism how to make a short 5-minute film about something sustainable. I strongly recommend to my students that they work on something that's about a solution, but I don't require that. But I feel strongly, I know from my own experience, that when I focus on solutions, a lot more people look at the work, and it could actually have a bigger effect. And so the class has been going on since 2013. We've just finished the 14th semester, and we produce between 2 and 4 films a semester, depending on the size of the class. The class is always pretty small. So we'll hear from Luke and Franco about that, because I think, yeah, they were just in the smallest class this last semester. So it's been between 5 and 15. It's usually around 8, 9, something like that. So the students get a lot of one-on-one attention from me. I love teaching. I love the process of teaching how to make a movie. It's very difficult. It's a very challenging thing to do. It takes more time than you ever want it to. And but the results, we'll hear from the students. I can tell you from being a teacher that the results are remarkable. The quality of films that the students are making is quite spectacular. And so, so Bridget, I'll hand it back to you for if we're going to screen a film, then we'll do a Q&A from that film, then we'll screen the film and do a Q&A from that film, I believe is the process.
The first of the 2 films that we're going to be looking at is Plant the Rain.
I wish we had more daily exposure to what it takes to get water here. We just turn on the tap. We don't know where that water is coming from. And then when we send it down the drain, same thing. We think, yeah, I'll just throw it away. There is no away. We're on a planet. Everything comes back in some form or another. All my water has to come from the sky, from the rainwater collected off my roof. It's awesome. It's super empowering. So every time I take a drink, every time I cook, every time I wash, I know where that water came from. I know what it took. And it traveled a very short distance from my roof to my faucet.
In my spare time, I like to play in the yard, and that's become a huge hobby of mine very recently. I don't quite know when I first learned about the rainwater harvesting. It must have just been through friends and other, especially people that already had done it. So when it pours, fairly quickly, this will start to completely fill up. The ground saturates, and it'll be set to water sort of everything for the next couple of days at least. The only thing that was in this yard, the only thing that was living was the mesquite tree on the one side. It was so flat and looked enough like a parking lot that random people would park on my front yard. I started to feel like sort of an old woman, like, get off my yard.
There are any students that have not taken their picture yet. At Monzo, we have all of this incredible built infrastructure here and gardens dotted all across campus and rainwater harvesting cisterns and native Sonoran desert habitat spaces.
Over here, over here.
We are collecting or able to hold, on average, we say about 16,000 gallons of water. So all of our garden spaces are hand watered.
Okay, there.
Using only harvested rainwater from the cisterns.
Things up and then just you make it in the hole as.
My brother and I, we created this 1/8 of an acre urban demonstration site as a living laboratory playground for us. So you don't need a gym membership when you got a fireman's pole. I also occasionally give guided tours for the public. So the rainwater, we collect off the roofs into those tanks. So this is it's all means of exposing people to these different ways of doing things. With 400 square foot of roof, I can have all the water I need just with rainwater. It shouldn't be the exception to be exposed to this stuff. It should be the norm.
I started learning about rainwater harvesting from Brad Lancaster. It was during that time that I realized that this was where my passion lay, and this is what I love. So we do two kinds of rainwater harvesting here.
This is an example for active rainwater harvesting.
So when it rains, it catches the water in the rain head.
And then it goes down here, down there, all the way over here, and then into this one. Water would come down and there's like a little screen protector there. So that the water would go there and let's say there's leaves, sticks, it would be blocked.
Because you don't know what's up there. There's a bunch of bird poop. There's people walking on it. It's all dusty. Well, it goes into the cistern right here, which we store all of our clean water.
So this one's about full.
I wanted to get more information about having those large tanks as well when you get all of the runoff from the roof. That's sort of long-term project that I'd eventually like to get one of those. Because I don't use a ton of water, because it's just me here, it's more the passive rainwater harvesting.
This is the passive rainwater harvesting.
When it rains, it would get all the water soaked up into the ground and it would travel along to get the water to the roots.
And it gives this tree water and this tree water.
The common thing in Tucson when people plant a tree is they pick a tree from some other place. They plant that tree and then they water it with water from some other place. Let's try and set it up so rainwater is the irrigator of the trees, so free local water. And the best way to succeed with that is to use native trees that have evolved over millennia to be the best adapted for our soils, climate, and wildlife. Too much of the world is all about changing the climate to suit the crop at huge expense. We should be changing the crop to suit the climate.
One of the things that we study in Sonoran desert ecology is the way that plants adapt to very little water and a lot of sun. We do a lot around native foods.
Miss Blue had us taste one of these, and it tastes like candy. Want to taste it?
How does it taste like candy?
Oh, it's probably the wrong one then. Wait, no, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here.
My favorite is the marigolds. Because they're beautiful, and you can smell them, and they smell very good.
They love to explore it, and I just try to make it interesting and fun, and point out as many little magical things as possible.
Because this is the spot that helps me gets me happier. I could smell the fresh air. I could breathe in and then breathe out.
I always teach the kids you can survive 3 weeks without food, but you can only survive 3 days without water.
We use so much water that we have to pump up water from however deep from the ground, and that's not good. Because let's say we run out of water. What are we going to do?
If you look at how much rain falls on the surface area of Tucson in an average year of rainfall and divide that by the population, you find that there's more rain falls on our community in an average year of rainfall than the entire population consumes of municipal water in a year. We don't have to extract water from elsewhere. We've got all that we need right here, delivered to us free of charge at a much higher quality than the imported Colorado River water. We just need to change the way we manage the water.
With our high school students, have you any questions for the filmmakers? I'll ask the first one just to start it off. So Franco, was this more or less work than you anticipated when you started this project?
Well, fortunately, I did have a little bit of filmmaking experience before this, so I knew just how much work it was going to be. But this film was on another level. The workload is significant because when we pay as much attention to detail as Peter insists that we do to make it good, to make it right, it's a lot of work, both in the filming and in the editing. So, I mean, so much work, but so worth it in the end.
And so for our high school guests, you guys can just chime in. You can open up your video if you'd like and your microphones to ask questions. Franco, you're a journalism student, correct?
Yes.
And this is a broad question, but what sorts of things did you learn about sustainability that you know now that you didn't know when you started the class in January?
Well, that was probably the biggest learning point for me, as opposed to a student that might be in the School of Sustainability that's taking this class. So I didn't know a whole lot about, first of all, the problem that Arizona has with water. I mean, I assumed it's a desert, so that's an issue, but I didn't realize how significant it really was. But then I think more importantly, and Peter, you touched on this when you said that you like films that talk about solutions. I didn't know that there's people out here that are doing some really cool things to address that problem. And if you look at Brad and his lifestyle, and it's not just the rainwater harvesting, if we all lived like that guy, we would not have any environmental problems at all. So it was
no
just
water problems.
Well, water problems, right. Yeah. But even things like, I mean, he said he's only ridden a bike since like 1994. He grows most of his own food. Right. He doesn't eat like, processed food, meat bought from the store and stuff like that. So even in a lot of other areas beyond water. Yep. But yeah, mostly as it pertains to water.
Yep. I think we've got a compressed schedule. So, Nicole, do you want to start the next film? And Franco, thank you very much, buddy. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
When people ask me, what is Hopi about? And it's kind of difficult to explain it because Hopi really is a way of life.
In the Hopi way, we talk about when we first came here and that we made a covenant with the person who was living here. His name is Masa.
We asked him if we could stay here with him, and of course he said, yes. Seed, my planting stick, and my gourd of water. That's all I have.
If he was going to allow us to live here, we had to take care of the land as he did.
We are taught to have respect for the land and water, and we are taught to be able to recognize that the earth is living. It's a living, breathing being.
My great-grandfather, Herman Lewis, he was a Katsin Mongwe, that's a Kachina chief at First Mesa at Walpi. And he told us when we were young to never let go of the corn. He said that the rains come to visit the corn, and if there's no corn to visit, the rains won't come and starvation will come again.
My fear or my concern right now is our youth. Our children and our grandchildren are not maybe understanding the Hopi knowledge about what they should be eating. We're so used to going to Burger King and McDonald's and places where they're feeding us food, which is really not our food system. Our own food system is here, what we grow.
And I feel that if we're able to reclaim our children's palates, then they're going to be a lot healthier for it.
The mission of the Hopi Permaculture Institute is to build healthy communities while passing knowledge on to future generations.
So we have to show people how to do it first. I have to walk the talk of all the things that we're promoting. We're promoting to be self-sustainable. We're promoting to have healthy access to food. We're promoting for our just the regular Joe out there to be able to grow their own vegetables in a small space like this. Me being a single mother, raising 6 kids, I can do this. And if I can do this and people can see me doing this, then we can get more buy-in from the community that programs like this work.
Within our communities, we have been impacted by, federal Indian policies like assimilation and removal and boarding schools. As people who have been interrupted, we've been inundated with a different value system, a Western value system that prioritizes growth and competition.
We're helping our youth to empower themselves and helping them to understand the value of them, of their life, and the history, the rich culture that we have, to never let go of the corn. We don't want to see our kids suffering in the future. We don't want to see them at starvation. If people don't care about themselves first, they're not going to care about taking care of their families or even being a productive part of the community.
Our work is about healing. It's about healing ourselves in order to move beyond and to create a post-colonial, sustainable and healthy community for our people, not only now, but into the future generations as well.
For myself and my children, I saw them heal themselves when they started working with the land again, when they started taking care of a garden.
In order to be attached to this earth and to this culture that we have, you have to get your hands into the dirt.
I keep praying to the springs when I go out, and I tell them to not give up on us. We're not planting as much. The rain clouds aren't coming to visit. I feel that my grandfather's saying is starting to come true, but I'm telling myself, no, it's not going to come true. We're not going to have starvation. These youth are going to learn how to grow their own food. They're going to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. They're never going to let go of the corn.
We have a responsibility as stewards of this land to keep the land clean so that the earth can breathe and so that the wild plants can grow and the animals that live there in that environment can come back. Insects. Maybe the bumblebees will come back at some point.
So Luke, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well, Peter.
Again, any of our guests got questions, please ask, and I'll lead the questions until then. But please, we want to hear from you. So Luke, when you set out to make this film with your 2 teammates, and I guess we should have mentioned that Franco has had a teammate on his film as well. What film did you think you were going to make when you set out, and how different is the film that you made?
I thought that we were going to end up doing a film essentially just about what this organization does. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of issues with water and nutrition and growing things in the high desert on the Hopi Reservation in northern Arizona. And I thought we were going to make a film about what is being done by this organization, but we interviewed Valerie, and she had an incredible personal connection to the work that the organization does. So we ended up telling the story through that lens.
And you all were affected more than the other team due to COVID, because during spring break is when everything really exploded and you were prevented from going back up there to film. How did you deal with that challenge? And as you go forward in your life, what do you think, what are the lessons you've learned so far in dealing with COVID that you think will help you down the line?
It was really hard because I was really excited about the type of film I had in my head, and I was really disappointed when it crushed me. Like I didn't want to do it anymore, and that only lasted a couple of days, of course. And then I started thinking about what we actually had, and we did have something to work with. Yeah. And then after you get over the initial disappointment and just take a breath and be like, okay, we actually do have something good here, and work hard, do our best, and that's what we did. So kind of I don't know, stages of grief sort of thing. Just be like, okay, just resign yourself to the process, and then you'll be fine.
What I liked was that you let yourself feel the deep emotion, but you didn't let that be the last step. You went through it, and that's tremendous. It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, being disappointed is a very valid feeling, and it's okay to feel it, but then do your best to move on and work with what you got. So that's what I learned.
And for my students, I'm making films as well, and I'm actually here in an edit bay making a film that I can't go out and shoot yet. Like, I've been shooting for 2 years, and I was supposed to go out in May to finish the film, and I can't go out and film. And so not only do I understand what it's like to make films, I'm right there with you. And so obviously everybody's in this situation. Have you shown the film? Because there was a couple of things where the folks were like asking you for notes and things like that you filmed. Have you shown the final film to them? Have they reacted? Have the folks that you filmed reacted to the film?
Yeah. Valerie saw it, and she said it was beautiful. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's nice when you're making a film about someone and you're celebrating them that they actually like the film.
They do.
It's
yes, absolutely.
Well, Bridget, I know we're over time, but I just wanted to give Luke a chance to answer a few questions. So back to you. And Luke and Franco, thanks for being here. Franco, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, as a matter of fact, Arizona PBS just emailed me during this session asking to show our film on one of their upcoming programs.
Same.
Yeah, okay, so that's great. I mean, especially if you're in the journalism school or you want to do this as a career, getting pieces published on a platform like that is very important. So, I mean, that's just another one of the reasons and rewards for taking this class and working hard and hopefully getting something that they'll want to show. So
Elisa Adams just wrote both of you while we were just doing this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I really do think, Luke, that your film, you might want to pitch to Elisa a half-hour version. I think you could find the funding, and I think when things open up, you could get up there. I don't know if you're around much longer.
I could be.
I would highly recommend you talk to her about that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Will do.
All right,
well, congratulations, Luke and Franco. That's fantastic. And I'm going to be watching PBS to see these again. And thank you so much, Professor Byck, for giving us your time and expertise here. All the students on the line, they're coming in from Mexico and Illinois and Arizona. Feel free to contact us afterwards. Nicole, if you want to show us our contact information on the screen, you're welcome to reach out with us at any time. And as Professor Byck, students can attest, promoting awareness of these issues is so important. That's a huge way that we're going to be moving towards a more sustainable future. And I'm very glad you brought up how COVID-19 is affecting our opportunity to increase awareness with these events, as well as how it's affecting the rest of the world with our system. This is our contact information. There are more upcoming More to Explore events that we're going to be featuring. We have more events today, this afternoon at 1 and 3:30 and 5. And then, of course, on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be having some more events. So definitely, we want to thank everyone for joining us, and especially Professor Byck and Franco and Luke. We appreciate you guys being with us. Reach out with any questions, and hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.